Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second of two webinars about the 2025 New American Home. Today, we're going to focus on elements of the home that exemplify architecture as art, and we'll go into kind of what that means, and at least the person that I credit with that terminology. Thank you for joining us. We've got some great insight from a couple of folks intimately involved in the project, and some great images, great photos to show you the house. So here we go. My name is Rich Binsaka. I'm the editorial director of ProBuilder Media, which is the official media partner of NEHB and the New American Home program. I'll be your moderator for this session. Joining me today is Stephanie Osborn, the owner of Clothed in Majesty and the home's interior designer, and Dan Coletti, who is the owner of and designer of the home from Sunwest Custom Homes, both in Las Vegas. For the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to show and discuss some of the finer touches, the little gems of this year's New American Home, and also gain some valuable insight about the architectural lighting that Stephanie and Dan designed into this home. And I think it's an important aspect for all of our audience to get to know and understand. You're encouraged to ask questions as we go. There's a Q&A button on your screen. Please use that. And I'll be checking them as we go. If you ask a question that's relevant to what we're talking about in the moment, then I may break in with that question. If otherwise, then we'll have a Q&A session at the end where we'll get to as many of those as we can. Before we get to this, to the webinar, I need to kind of do some business here. So I want to thank our Platinum and Gold sponsors, LG Signature Kitchen Suite and LG Air Conditioning Technologies, our big sponsor of this program. I want to thank them. And also Western Window Systems, who you'll see throughout the house, and some of the images that we're showing. They provided windows and sliding patio doors that are quite spectacular and really kind of open up the home to both natural light and accessibility. And then also Kohler, who is a longtime sponsor of this program, and just does beautiful work on these homes, providing plumbing fixtures and fittings and accessories. So I want to thank them. Just a note, the New American Home, as we said, ProBuilder is an official sponsor, media partner of this program. The 2025 home first appeared in our January-February issue, which was available at the International Builders Show. It was our cover feature. And we also had a companion product section in the back of the magazine for the sponsors, so you can kind of get a sense of the 20 or so sponsors that we had and what products they contributed to the house. In our current issue, which is the March-April issue, we also had a secondary feature about the home and some of the details we'll talk about today. So check those out. Those are both available at probuilder.com, and in our magazine archives, you can find them and find a digital edition or website versions of those articles. There is also a website, tnah.com, thenewamericanhome.com. It has a bunch of information about the program and about the project specifically. There's a virtual tour of the finished home. There's interviews with members of the project team throughout construction. And then there's also sections within that have galleries of images of both the products that were put into the house and also the construction progress of the house. So check it out. I hope you do that. Just want to give some background on the project. So it is located in Niscaya, which is in Henderson, Nevada. It looks over the Las Vegas Valley and the famous Las Vegas Strip. You'll see that. We'll show you kind of the context of the home, but it's a pretty spectacular view. The designer builder, as I mentioned, is Sunwest Custom Homes in Las Vegas. Interior designer, Clothed in Majesty, also in Las Vegas. And the landscape architect, Vangson Consulting, also in the Vegas market. There was a green building consultant and rater for this project. It achieved very high levels of energy and water efficiency. That's two trails in Las Vegas and Orlando. And then just some specs about the house. The lot size was a little over half an acre. Home was a little over 9,000 square feet of conditioned space, including an attached casita. And then there's 4 bedrooms plus the casita has a bedroom and 4 bathrooms in the main house, plus another bathroom in the casita. Just a glimpse of the floor plans. It's on 3 levels this year, which is a bit of a departure for both Dan and the New American Home in Las Vegas. Usually don't see a subgrade level at all in Las Vegas, but this one has one. It's a wine cellar actually, and we'll take a glimpse of that. And then also the main floor has 2 bedroom suites flanking the center area, which is the kitchen and main living area. And then upstairs, there's just a beautiful game room and 2 secondary bedroom suites and a great balcony that enjoys the view as well. Okay, so first of all, I want to welcome Dan and Stephanie. Dan and Stephanie, thank you for joining us. I think we're going to have a really fun time going through this home and talking about it. Maybe Dan, if you want to give us just a real quick overview of kind of, how you go about designing a home for its lot, and as you're designing, how you think about some of these, architecture as art. Maybe describe that term a little bit, because that's what I learned from you. I'm taking that from you. So maybe describe that a little bit and how you look for those opportunities.
Yeah, Rich, I sure will. Thank you for the nice introduction for me and Stephanie. Appreciate that. Yeah, so this lot within the community is perched very high above the valley floor. And so when I had the opportunity to purchase this lot, I knew that the view would be the big issue off the back of the property. And so a lot of the architecture is based around trying to capture that view out of every room you possibly can. And also the view is on an angle off the back, and even that slide you had before this, Rich, you can kind of see the back of the house has an angle. In fact, can you go back one slide, Rich? Thank you.
Yep.
You kind of notice how the floor plan on the back of the house is skewed from left to right. And that's purposeful because the view is really off out to the right. So all the rooms are trying to take advantage of the best view you possibly can. Now you can switch back to the other slide, Rich. Thank you. So that was of paramount importance. And then the big decision always is, what rooms should get the best view out the back, because obviously every room can't be on the back of the house. It'd be a strange looking house, right? So as many times as we could, and so in our floor plan, the primary bedroom, and then we have kind of like a secondary primary, get the view, the great room, the kitchen, the nook, and we really did a good job at capturing the view off many areas. And then upstairs there's the game room in one of the bedrooms. So and then there's so much glass in the house through Western windows and door systems. In fact, the image that you see here is sort of exterior glass on the interior. You're seeing it wrapping around the wine room, and it also wrapped around the study and many other areas. So the home was nearly transparent for some of the rooms that are forward on the house, where you can still look through and out to the back and see the great view of the Las Vegas Strip, beyond. So and there's another good shot of the front. So you're seeing through. You're almost at the front door, and you're looking through the house, and beyond that dark area is actually the Strip, Las Vegas Strip, and beyond out there. So this is a front courtyard view. So that was the genesis is view, and then half acre lot does have some limitations. There's only so much footprint to work with. But bottom line is, a lot of view and openness so that you could capture the view from nearly every angle.
Right, great. And then as far as, so there's the big wow factors, and I think this wine room and the wine cellar below, this is right when you walk in a house, and it's a big wow factor. It stops everybody. It's very intriguing and a little scary for people to walk across that, but it's certainly safe. But it just it's, but I'm talking about the little ones, the little wow factors that we'll talk about here. And I know that, there's some that are, and the reason I chose this photo is because there's 2 or 3 that are in this view right now. One would be the staircase that you've got, kind of the floating staircase in the back behind the dining room table and the dining area. Another one is the column that is, you can see on the far right of the frame. And so I'm just curious, when you go through these and you know the big reveals, you know the stuff that you want to showcase, but you also make time and effort to kind of have these little wow factors, these architecture as art, where it's kind of, is it necessary? Maybe, but I think you think it is, in terms of how people live in the home and how they enjoy the home.
Yeah, well, Rich, definitely necessary. Yes, I think, because and you're right. It's the smaller details that add to the bigger details, right? That make a home as beautiful as they can be. But there's some which is in the structure, right? Because the option to have a lower wine cellar that you can walk over when you come through the front door, certainly something you have to think of right away at the beginning, right? But then there are other details that you have opportunities to still exploit along the way. One of those opportunities is sort of the hidden wine rack, or hidden spice racks that are to the right and left of the cooktop. And Rich, I know I saw you playing with those every time you were there, looking at that detail. But those are obviously smaller details, yes. And then the column where the Western window and door systems come into it on two sides of the column, and the column feels inside and outside. Another detail that continued to grow in detail as we went along, but the structure was there to begin with, which is cool.
Sure. Stephanie, I want to make sure we get to you, because there's so much here too that relates to what you did in terms of designing the interiors and making sure that it was cohesive, and also obviously the lighting. So maybe kind of tell us how you got involved with Dan in this project, and then how you went about figuring out how to make this beautiful interior kind of suit the design, the overall design that Dan had conceived.
Yeah, that's a big question to unpack, Rich. What came into the project, I was very grateful. Dan asked me to come on board, and I'll reiterate how necessary it is, the fine attention to detail, because that's what sets the project far and above many, many projects here in this valley, is the attention to detail. The being able to see through was a big deal. The additions of treatment on the wine cellar wall and wrapping it around from one space to the other gives you an illusion of a continuation, just like looking through the house through all the windows. And the column is the same thing, having the illusion of it continuously going around and being able to see through. You can't tell on the picture, but those shelves are glass and they're framed with wood. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. And then, of course, you have that glass floor when you walk in through the front door and you look right down into that wine cellar. Everything came together very well. The attention to detail from the very beginning was very meticulously planned before anybody even realized how all of this was coming together. It was a leap of faith for most of the subcontractors just to go along with the ideas.
Yes.
Right. Well,
Yes,
in this, yeah, exactly. And this was, I'm sure, a challenge for them as well, but it just pulls off so beautifully. And so I don't want to neglect, because the next slide I want to get to is really focused on lighting. And so maybe this is a good time for you to kind of give us a brief summary, although I know it's not easy necessarily to articulate briefly, but what is, when you talk about architectural lighting, because when we were talking at the photo shoot for this, we were talking about, the value of architectural lighting and the fact that not a lot of builders, even at this level, know about it or apply it. But right. You really took a concerted effort to do that. And maybe you can just kind of tell us what it is and why it's so important.
It is extremely important. It's one of those items that once you do it, you're not going to skip on it again. It takes a lot of planning in advance. There were a lot of people that helped me get all of this organized and planned, including the lighting designer was an integral part of it. The other thing that was really advantageous is very early on, the majority of the items that you see in the home were already being selected and designed and decided upon before the house started framing.
Mhm.
And the reason for that upfront activity for interior selections was the architectural lighting. It has so many different layers. When planned properly, you can highlight as you can see in the slide here, the wall that's in the dining room wrapping around. It's being highlighted as a piece of art with some architectural lighting in the ceiling. But if you're not looking for it, you don't realize what the effect is that's going on there. And again, every contractor in this house, in the rough stage and the finished stage, were being directed on applications based on how the lighting was going to affect everything, including the furniture layout. So it was extremely important, and it makes everything set off like a museum piece of art. It's beautiful.
We lost you.
Did we lose you?
Rich, we've lost your audio.
Interesting. Oh, got it. Sorry.
There you
All
are.
right. I'm back. Okay. Is there also an occupant benefit from a standpoint of comfort or even health of having an architectural lighting scheme, if you will, designed into the home? What is the effect, if any, on occupants? And maybe it's just so subtle they don't really know it, but it's probably, I would imagine, if there is, it's different and better than, say, a traditional home with traditional lighting.
Oh yeah, the amount of control that goes into the light and the lighting and how it affects the ambience of the home can be very impactful on the cognitive behaviors of people as we live in our environment.
Yeah.
And the comfort that we have from lighting. It's extremely important to a calm, peaceful home. And whether you're at home working or just having some quiet time, relaxing, or if you're entertaining, there's the option to control your lighting based on the scenario of what's happening in the home at the current time.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Okay. I set up this slide. Thank you for that. I think that starts us off, and we're going to talk more about lighting as we get into some of the other areas of the home. But I wanted to show this image to start because it has so many of the things that we're going to talk about. As I mentioned, the lighting, the floating stair, the wood, the use of wood in wall treatments, and certainly the ceiling, the Coletti column. So I'm going to move just quickly downstairs to the wine room, the wine cellar that's below grade. And there's a little lounge that's accompanying it. Stephanie, just quickly from a lighting standpoint, the cellar itself, I mean, what kind of challenges did you have there, or what was the thinking there to make sure that it did its job to kind of highlight the wine and also, be comforting and achieve some of the other architectural lighting principles that you wanted to impart?
This area is very distinctively, you're in a completely different area now that you've entered that space. It still has touches of very modern, eclectic combination of old world and new world mixed together. And it does, as you know, because you were there, you enter that space and you feel like you're in a completely different home. You entered a different zone altogether. So the lighting was designed to be very calming and quiet, cozy, relaxing, just to sit down there and have a quiet conversation, or just sit down there and just be completely quiet. The lighting in the wine cellar area where the wine storage is was also designed specifically to highlight the beauty of that space and highlight the wine collection. It's a very large room. It can have more capacity than what was installed there, but it does give you a beautiful ambiance to look at, whether you're down in the wine cellar or if you're standing upstairs looking down through the glass floor, glass ceiling, if you will, depending on where you are.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so back to this, and I'm going to jump to some of the pieces. So we talked about the architectural lighting in the dining room, and I think we kind of covered that. But then the next thing is this floating stair. And maybe Dan, you can talk to me. And we don't really have a reverse shot of this where there's just glass behind it. From where we're standing against glass that brings in light to that staircase. But talk to me about, kind of why you placed the staircase here. I think there's a logic to that, but also just the design of it. And it is fairly dramatic as you're going up, as it is a truly floating staircase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's another one of the wow features in the home. And think about stairs, they have to function right to get you up and down, but then you can add layers of detail again. And here we go with some, detail in the way that these stairs, they attach to the walls, so they're cantilevering out, and then the glass is hanging out on that cantilevered edge of the tread itself. So it's really a cool look because you can see through it. Because you can see through it, there is glass behind us. You can almost see how the sunlight is creating an interesting shadow on that left wall. And then when you come in the entry door, which is beyond that dining room table set that you see there, when you come in the entry door and you look left, you can see through the end of the house because the stairs are somewhat transparent because all the risers are open when you cantilever a stair tread like this, as well as the glass, allows you to look right through. Again, the selection, Stephanie did a nice job of the stain color because it's warm, even though, there's a lot of white wall space and everything around it. But I love the selection of the stain color to make it feel warm. When you're looking down the hallway, it almost looks like art, right? And that's what your drive is to this webinar is these are functionally functionable art, right? You can walk on it, but it looks cool too. So love these features, and you'll see a few more coming up. Like the wall or that column we'll look at in a little while functions, but also looks really cool.
Right. And Stephanie, I do want to go back a little bit to the dining room shot. When we were at the photo shoot, I asked you kind of what your favorite fixture was, and there's so many in the home. I was surprised that you're able to come up with one, but I believe this was it, and the one over the dining room table. And maybe you can just explain why that's such a great fixture and kind of how it fits in with, the theme of architecture as art, or certainly the architectural lighting scheme.
Yeah, it's a very modern light fixture, and it was specifically chosen for this dining room to trick you when you're looking at it, not to realize that everything is off-centered in that dining room. You have to look really close at it. So to balance the space without making it obvious that nothing was centered in that room, that chandelier is, again, you see right through it. It's very beautiful. It's cantilevered. And then you have these beautiful glass cylindrical tips at the very end of it that shine down on that dining room table. So again, you're looking through it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's functional. It's also serving the purpose of pulling your eye off of the fact that everything is off-centered in that space, but most people would not pick up on that.
Yeah.
But it was a detail that was very important to me from the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't at all. I mean, I didn't notice that at all. I think anybody who walked the house or was at an event or whatever noticed that. So it was very effective in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now,
go ahead.
Now, Rich, everybody knows.
Now everybody knows.
Secret's out, right? Yeah, it's an awesome. Not a flaw. It just is, and okay. So the secret's out.
And Rich, if you'd asked what was one of the challenges for Stephanie to accomplish, that's one of them that was up there, because we all spent time on that to get through the end of it. But Stephanie did a great job on that.
Yeah. Well, it was hard to get across the concept to everybody when there was nothing but lumber in the house. It was hard for people to grasp that. But then when it's all said and done, you realize why.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think, having that vision, not just the vision of understanding that and knowing that's going to be your challenge or something you have to solve, but also, having that kind of and even from Dan's standpoint and his construction crew standpoint of trusting that this is something we have to do now. We have to get in and understand what we're dealing with and spec it and plan for it. Whereas, most people address that once they realize they've got something like that, or it's too late or whatever. So, kudos to the team for really coming together and thinking about that at that point. I'm now kind of moving past the wine room into the kitchen, which is just a beautiful space as well. They're all beautiful in this house, but a little bit better shot of the column, which we'll get to next. But then, as Dan mentioned, there's a little bit of a smaller wow factor, a little fun element that he put in here that is both functional and just really enjoyable, that we'll get to after that. But I want to kind of talk about the column a little bit more specifically. Stephanie, you mentioned that the shelves on this column, or maybe Dan mentioned it, that they're glass. They're framed in wood, but they're glass, so that the light just shines right through them from top to bottom. But Dan, talk to me a little bit more about this element. And I mean, you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to go to this kind of level of detail and extreme, if you will, for a column that's basically, kind of wrapping around, the wine, or I'm sorry, the wet bar and the outdoor seating and outdoor grill, and the little dining area in the kitchen. I mean, you could have just done a standard column, maybe wrapped it in wood, but not certainly to this extent. What made you go to this extreme and come up with something so beautiful?
Well, sometimes I ask myself the same question, Rich, because it becomes challenging, right? And I guess I too like certain challenges, but it's just one step at a time. I knew that the bar area, we very much wanted this indoor-outdoor feeling to the bar, and there's no better way to do that other than to have the multi-slide door, the western window, the last sliding door kind of slip between shelves, because then the illusion is really awesome, both when the door is closed and open. But more specifically, when the door is open, it does feel like there's a seamless outdoor barbecue / indoor bar, when you put them together. And I think it's very important that this column actually, carry that theme that we were trying to accomplish. And then as you roll around to the other side, which we can't see, but it actually functions nice to the breakfast nook also, because it makes for some nice opportunities for Stephanie to have put some really cool things on the shelves that kind of relate more to the kitchen. So in essence, depending on which side of the column you are, it's feeding to that portion of the house. And it's complicated, too, because the shelves are cantilevered. There's steel behind there supporting that part of the roof, because it's a 2-story area of the home, and the complexity is quite significant. But the great thing, again, is it was there from the beginning in my initial design, and then the ability to sort of adorn it as time goes on makes it, come out spectacular when you get to the finish line. Really proud of it.
Well, I think the builders who are listening to this or watching this webinar are probably thinking, Dan, where do you get craftsmen to do this? Because I was on site when they were finishing it for the photo shoot, and it's just the level of commitment to detail and to quality was something that you don't hear a lot about anymore. It's certainly kind of an old school thing, but you clearly have crews that care about it and are very skilled at doing it. So that's one reason you pull it off, because they were just great at what they do.
Yeah. It requires skill on everybody's part to make the end result as great as it turned out, no doubt.
So I want to go back into the kitchen. So this is a reverse view. So this is kind of looking from basically the wet bar in, and you kind of can see the glimpse of the wine room on this level there on the left. But you also see a couple of things here that we're going to get a little bit more detail, and that's these two spice racks that you see flanking the range oven and the pot filler and the range hood. You can kind of glimpse them here. We'll get a little closer and get a little kind of see what we're talking about. And then so I'm just going to spoil it. So here's what they are open, And then Dan, you can tell me kind of how you came up with this action, which is to have this piece of stone basically, roll in front of it so that it hides the spice rack. Maybe tell us the story about how that idea came to be, and it's just a really special, nice little detail.
Yeah. Well, I watch my wife, cooking. I'm not a chef of any sort. Eggs are the best thing I can make. But when I watch her cook and everything, it seems like to the right and left of the cooktop, it's always a cluster of stuff, right? No matter what. So, the idea came. Also, what's a little hard to see is this countertop is a little deeper than normal too. I think it's like 28 or 29 inches deep versus 24. So not only do you have additional depth, for your spices and stuff or whatever it is you might want to store close to your cooktop, you also have a little extra depth here. And so I think both those things are important. And so in reality, that recessed area is 6 inches deep. So in theory, you have nearly, 36 inches or 34 inches of depth to the right and left of the cooktop. The idea to cover it was good because a lot of people are not wanting to see after they're done cooking and whatnot. And so to be able to close them and have a look because when you're farther away, like in the great room, and these are closed, even the grain of the lines in the marble or the stone material has a match, so you really can't tell when you're further away from this that they would even open at all. And so that's the real magic, is you kind of start to experience the level of details one step at a time. You wouldn't see it from far away. You walk up, you start to see it, then you open it and you're like, wow, okay, this is different. Haven't seen that before. This is unique. So more levels of detail make, people really believe that there's a lot of thought that went into every part of this home. If you walk away and you didn't think that, it would be a shame. But I think there's so many things overpowering you like that you walk away from this home going, there's a lot of cool, detailed stuff that somebody had to think of a long time before the first shovel was put in the ground.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Great. I love this little detail. That idea, like you said, every time we were there, I was just like showing people about opening and closing these spice things. And you're so true. My kitchen's the same way. My kitchen doesn't compare at all to that, but there's always stuff on the left and the right that I wish I could just kind of put away and access when I needed it, not just having it out for everybody to see. Okay, we jumped to this slide earlier in the webinar because you were talking about the glass and how much glass there is at the front of the house and obviously in the back to catch the view. And my question, before we get to kind of a little wow factor, which you can kind of see, I'm going to kind of below it, but it's to the lower right here, which is this little courtyard here in the front, which I just love. But Stephanie, when you're dealing with so much glass and so much natural light throughout the day, in the morning, this glass gets a lot of sun coming over the hill there. And then obviously in the back, you've got a lot of natural light that comes in through the back in the afternoon. How do you, especially with the lighting design, but even just the materials that you choose and things like that, how do you account for that? How do you, make it so that it's still comfortable in the house when you've got so much light during certain times of day that are really, really coming into the house and just throwing a lot of natural light into it?
Yeah, if you pay attention to the furniture selections that's in the house, pretty much everything is a natural wood, very calming. There's not a lot of materials in the furniture that have exposed metal, and all of that was on purpose to help weight the house, first of all, because it is extremely large home. The furniture was all very large scale pieces, and then the fabrics that were selected, again, were selected on purpose to be very earth tone. The theme that I rolled with throughout the whole project was the painted desert in Northeast Arizona. And I stayed true to all of those natural colors to help keep the house a very natural and warm feeling. As far as outdoor furniture is concerned, the climate here is harsh. We're very hot in the summer. We're very cold in the winter. And we have a tendency to have a lot of high winds. So the outdoor furniture is all hospitality grade, heavy furniture that won't blow away. And then throughout the house, which you don't see in any of these photos or during the show, is we have shade pockets everywhere. And there are mechanical powered shades that come up and down and can be programmed to rise and come down based on what the sun situation is throughout the day.
Okay. Well, that helps a ton. So that answers a lot of it. It's just, one,
Sure.
Not exposing furniture to, getting furniture that could heat up or doesn't really match the aesthetic that you're looking for. But certainly if you can control the glare, the heat, the sunlight at certain times of day,
Sure.
that's better. I'm sure energy wise too, Dan, I'm sure that's a big part of it too.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay.
And it's a fishbowl, basically. That's what I call it, with all the glass. So you have to have some privacy.
Well, Rich, also what's interesting is from the front courtyard, you can see through the study and you can see through the great room and you can see the strip beyond.
Yeah. Yep.
So in theory, from your front courtyard, you can see the view.
Yes.
Right. So people are sitting in the courtyard envying the view in the back, and people that walk up to the house are like, I want to get in that house so I can go to the back and see the view. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, right.
Well, Rich,
but I do love this
other
courtyard. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
One other technical aspect, the back of the home is subject to a more breezy wind situation than the front. Our prevailing wind kind of comes from the back left to the back right. So the front courtyard does have the ability to enjoy potentially no wind in a lot of situations compared to the rear. So I think the front courtyard has a real utility use to it for the occupants of the home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to get that's a great point, Dan. I think that it is an interesting aspect here that you've got this, obviously, like you said at the start, the emphasis is on the back to the view. We don't have in this particular deck, but in the first webinar we did talk about the rear elevation and all of the activity that you've got there for outdoor living, and there's a pool and a hot tub and just some great areas, fire pits, things like that. We'll get a glimpse of that in a minute. But so that's what made me so curious about the front courtyard, because I think it's just this nice intimate space, and I'll get a little bit more closer on it. But just having that space that doesn't necessarily suffer from the winds to the back, but also just it's just nice to have something in the front that's got some activity rather than just the front of the house and people walk up and walk in. I mean, you've got something there that people can stop and chat and just have a nice both in the morning and in the afternoon or evening.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, useful area, that's for sure.
It's one of my favorite spaces. Okay. The next space, which is difficult, we got a shot of this bench and this looking out to a kind of a cactus garden. This is adjacent to the office and it's on your way to the casita. So really don't have a context for it, but it's just this beautiful piece of furniture. And Stephanie, I know you and I talked about it and you were able to kind of articulate some things about it. So maybe tell us about this bench and kind of how it came to be and why it's so special. And it is certainly a kind of an architecture as art piece, I would think.
Yeah. And this goes back to the plans before the house even started construction, making sure that there was adequate systems in the walls to support this floating bench. It's a very long bench. So here we are just hanging out in space. The bench is actually a very comfortable bench, and I have to give the craftsman credit for this one. Dan and I, the whole team, trusted him enough to come up with something that was amazing, and he did. Yeah, it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, what you can't quite see from the picture is the wood is sculpted for like a seat, and it's very hard to see in your picture, Rich, but when you sit on it, it actually has a shape in it that is hard to see, and then they're all individual pieces.
Mhm.
There is a steel beam underneath here going from wall to wall, but he certainly came up with a good way. I mean, of course, we initially thought, well, it's going to be a neat floating seat that you can look, through below and above, but adding all these curved pieces of wood, helped it go more toward a feeling of art than just a seat.
Mhm. It almost looks like, for the people looking at it online that didn't get to actually see it in person, if you opened up a grand piano and somebody's playing the piano and you see all those hammers moving around inside, that's kind of what they look like.
Yeah. Good description.
Exactly. That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. Yeah, it
Very
is something that, yeah, it has such great impact when you see it live. Everybody stopped on the tours at events and just was
Mhm.
awed by it. But it is it's tucked in this little part of the house off the office and kind of the junior suite, and on your way to the casita, and you kind of go there and you go, oh, look at this, and this gorgeous little garden, that's tucked in there as well is really nice. So yeah, really pulled off. Okay, the last thing that I've got, and this is something that I thought was kind of cool. It's not necessarily a wow factor that I would put on par necessarily with some of the things we've seen, the column and the staircase and this bench. But I thought it was a very intriguing and provocative product innovation. And Dan, I know you saw it at the International Builder Show 24 when it was first introduced to the residential market. But this
Correct.
stackable garage door, and I hope this picture articulates it somewhat. But as you can see, the garage panels stack at the top of the door. They don't extend into the ceiling. There's no motor in the ceiling in the middle of the garage. There's no cabling, nothing. It just basically is self-contained to kind of carry this. And maybe you can just kind of tell us, when you saw this for the first time at the Builder Show a couple of years ago, what you thought, and if you thought, yeah, this is something I want to have in this house.
Yeah, Rich, it has a lot of benefits to it. This home in particular, I talked earlier about, we had a half acre, but by the time you remove setbacks and whatnot, you're always squished for space. And though we were able to get 5-car garage here in total, a lot of people want more than that. And so I always think about, could somebody stack and put a car lift for storage for second, one car above another. And in this situation, it really opens it up. I had already made the ceiling tall enough to stack cars, but then the doors, when they roll back, often come close to the car on the second, that's stacked above. And this totally takes that away. You don't have to worry about anything being over the top of your car, especially if it's a nice car. You could fear that it's going to drop oil or something, with the chain drive above and all that, or a belt drive. But this totally eliminates that, and it is one of the wow factors. I know it's a purchased wow factor instead of designed, right? But it's a good one to have when you're trying to save space. Also, if you wanted a showroom garage kind of thing, I think this is the way to go, because we could have, gone further, and the ceiling in this garage could have been done with some really special lighting or whatnot, and you could have kept working off of this and made it even nicer. But it looks, this picture is pretty good. There were also the same door was on the other side of the driveway from here, and it turned out beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left, and we've only got one question, so I'm just going to ask it, and it's really directed to Stephanie. Well, both of you actually, but Stephanie, it's about architectural lighting and how much designing that adds to typical cost of a lighting package for a home of this size, or any size percentage increase or whatever. And my added question to that is, does it depend on when you really start thinking about that? As you mentioned, it was something you guys were thinking about from the outset, and you were advocating for. But can you give us a sense of, what's the premium for an architectural lighting package versus just a standard lighting package, even for a house like this?
The architectural lighting, of course, has to be done from the very beginning before construction starts. It's that intricately involved. It does take a lot of time and planning. The cost, I don't know what it is across the country, but I can tell you here in town, my clients that do architectural lighting, it can range anywhere from $2 to $5 a square foot, depending on the level and detail that you are looking for on the project. As far as the actual fixtures are concerned, I didn't get involved with the cost of those fixtures. Dan could give you a better idea of maybe a cost per square foot to figure on. But design, you can budget anywhere between $2 and $5, depending on the level of design that you want.
Okay. And Dan, I don't need to know. That's not the question. I think it was more just, okay, this sounds great, and I think it has a positive effect on the lighting and the occupant comfort and all of that. I think they were just curious, like, okay, what am I looking at in terms of a premium to get there? So that's a great way to explain it, I think. And also that you need to do it at the start. You can't do it at the end. It's not possible. So.
Well, and I could add to that, Rich, relative to cost of fixtures, there's such a wide range out there that you could take a good design and continue to value engineer your selections and move that number quite a ways up or down, depending on your, on your ultimate decision. But the design is important, like Stephanie just said at the beginning. I think it's nearly 80% design and 20% fixture. Maybe that's a little skewed, but you know what I mean. It has a lot to do with thinking ahead and figuring out where the lighting is going to be and what kind of lighting style you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And the
perfect.
preliminary furniture layout is extremely important for that.
True.
Yeah. All right. Great. Okay. Before we close out, I want to make sure that we credit the project team. Again, this is NEHB's project, and specifically their Lighting Suppliers Council. A lot of those companies contribute to the New American Home, both with product and by sponsoring. So we want to thank them and also the key members of the team. Certainly Ted Mahoney, who's the chairman of the task force for New American Home 2025. He's a builder in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. He's there in the red tie, right in the middle of the photo. And then Tucker Bernard, who's in the gray suit and white shirt, kind of forward toward us on the left. And Jamal Gibbons, who's back kind of the opposite of Tucker, farthest back in the gray suit and the black shirt. They are leading the Leading Suppliers Council at NHB. Have done a great job for years putting this together and coordinating everything about it. So we want to make sure we acknowledge them. And then obviously there's Stephanie sitting between Tucker and Ted, and Dan, who's to Ted's left, flanked by members of his team, Mark Schlachter, who's was the construction superintendent on the project, and then other members of his staff, around us as well. Very folks to get this done, because it's not a one-man band, as everybody knows. This is a tremendous lift for Dan's company, for Stephanie, the subcontractors, the construction managers. It's a big deal. So I want to thank them, and Dan, thanks again to you and Stephanie and your team at SunWest. It's just a great effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Really.
Just a reminder. Yeah. Hey. It's kind of awe-inspiring when you're actually there and you're talking to them. It's just like, I can't believe you guys put this together. To the level of quality, certainly, that happens there. I want to remind folks that this webinar is being recorded and will be available in a couple of days on the ProBuilder website, our webinars section. Please take a look at it there. You can, if you're registered, you'll be able to jump on immediately. If you're not, then you just need to register and can share it on social media and let people know to watch it as well. One more quick thanks to our sponsors, our platinum and gold sponsor. We've got, again, LG Signature Kitchen Suite, and LG Air Conditioning Technologies, big sponsor, valued sponsor of this program, as is Western Window Systems. Again, you saw a lot of their product in the photos that we showed. Just tremendous work, beautiful work that they do. And then Kohler, if you go to the first webinar that we have, which is also on our webinars page at probuilder.com, you'll see a little bit more of what Kohler did in the bathrooms, in the kitchen. Again, just beautiful stuff, as we all know, that comes from Kohler. I want to thank again Dan and Stephanie for your time and your insight and the work that you did on this house. And also thank the audience. Thanks for those that decided to attend, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we hope to see you next year when we talk about the New American Home 2026. Dan and Stephanie, thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Rich.